Hi guys, School here, and today we're going to be reviewing this, the Renault Magnum Tuning Pack version 14.36. For all you Renault fans out there, you'll notice inside it supports the cabin accessories. We've got the bat up the top, but you'll also notice that this truck has some pretty unique features. Notice the sat-nav is like a semi-transparent display, which is very nice. And then up here at the back, you've got a TV monitor, which is actually active, and I'll show you that later. And on the outside, notice the matte finish on the paintwork. This mod is pretty good quality, and I'm going to take you through it, so let's get started. First off, mod installation is quite simple. You've got two files to install and a third optional one. The third optional one would give you a BDF Tandem trailer, which I'll show you in a second, but you only have to install two if you don't want the BDF stuff. You'll find them in the Renault dealer, of course, and you'll find them as Renault Magnum Excellence, Renault Magnum Excellence M, which stands for matte, and then finally Renault Magnum Excellence Rigid. All they really do is set up the defaults for you. You can configure any of these options just by going into Customize. Cabin options. There are two cabin options. There is a standard and a matte. If we just put a paint skin on here first, and then you can kind of see the difference. Essentially, the mod comes with, well, it works with My School Logistics, put it that way. So it works with that. You can skin it up with School Logistics. But it does come with some of its own as well, as you'll see down here. If we scroll through the list, you've got Rizzo, you've got Drakkar Transport, you've got the Legend one, Renault Magnum ones, World of Truck ones, and then these kind of Route 66 ones here. We'll leave that one on, and then you can see what's going on here. So you've got the cabin option normal and matte, and you can literally, if you pay attention to what's going on here on the paint scheme, you can see either you've got shiny and reflective or matte paint. I actually think the matte paint looks pretty good. Now, you can then change what's going on all around here, so you can make the whole thing look quite nice. I'll show you that now. Chassis options. There are 4 chassis options in total. There's 4x2 variations, a 6x2, a 6x2-4, and a 6x4. Now the 4x2 variations, the differences are what goes on the front axle. So if we go with a standard 4x2, you get that. Then you've got a high front axle and then a higher front axle. Then you've got the 6x2, which is pretty much what it says it is. And then you come into the sort of BDF tandem options, the 6x2-4, which looks like this, and the 6x4. Not a lot between them, apart from what's going on at the rear axle down here. In order to have these working properly, now this is available if you don't enable the tandem option. However, you won't get the dot here to configure the tandem box. You'll just get one single box. So bear that in mind. If you want to play with the tandem BDF stuff, you will need to enable that third mod I told you about. Engine sizes. Now, there's not a lot going on with the engines. They only range from 440 to 480 to 520, so not a massive amount of difference. If you notice, there's only 350 Newton meters of torque between the whole three. However, it does make up for this. When you go into transmissions, you have a total of 11 transmissions to choose from. And if you notice the number in brackets here, that is the gearbox ratio. So if you're struggling perhaps with an oversized or overly heavy load, you could come back to the dealer or the mechanic and you could change out your transmission and go for something with a higher ratio gearbox. That's going to give you extra pulling power, extra grunt. For normal use, I recommend you go for the 2.64 because these higher ratios really do rev quite hard and you'll find yourself in 10th gear even when you're doing 30 or 40 kilometers per hour. So I recommend you start off with the 2.64 ratio and then take it from there. Interior of the truck's pretty cool actually. If we start at the top here, there are quite a lot of options for interiors. This is the Privilege interior, which obviously has this little orange trim. It's okay, there's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't really float my boat, but, you know, it's alright. It's not garish, it's just pleasant. The Route 66 option, you may have noticed there was no difference. What actually is the difference is just the chair. That's a slightly nicer option, I think, the Route 66. And then we've got the Sombre, which is, well, it's kind of like a dark grey with a bit of dark brown going on. This is interesting. Look at that. This kind of brown armrest really stands out. And that you've got this like bits of brown wood going right away across it. Then you've got the Legend option. The Legend is actually pretty cool, I think. It's a lot of black going on with a lot of white. So it's very, very neutral, if you like. But it's very pleasing on the eye, if you like that sort of thing. Coming down to the Renault Trucks Racing, this is where it gets properly garish. Not really something I would sit in, but, you know, lots of bright reds and black. It really does stand out in your face if you like it like that. The denim option is something you go for, I guess, if you like wearing jeans. You can camo yourself on your own seat because it's very nice. Lots of kind of browns and leathers and denim blues going on. Not sure about that curtain myself, but hey, whatever. Then you've got the exclusive, which is kind of what you go for if you like cream interiors with slight wooden trims. But if you really like going wood, then you'll probably want to go platinum, which has an all walnut fascia, which is very kind of executive, isn't it? Not sure about the colours of these seats myself, but, you know, it's quite nice. Like, you've even got walnut around the interior light, which is kind of nice to see. And then you've got the deluxe, which is, to me, very, very chocolatey. Very, very Cadbury's, very creamy. You know, lots of creams and browns, that kind of thing. Very neutral browns. Pleasant, I guess, is to look at. But again, you know, so many interior options here. You can find something that suits you. Outside the truck. Now, this is where it kind of gets interesting. Basically, what you can do is you can start off that one. We'll start off with that one, which is the radiator, which adjusts this section here. So you've got the stock, obviously. You've got the matte version of it. Then you've got the black version of it, which kind of works if your apron is black. You know, you probably want to keep these things in tune with each other. And then you've got the painted variation of it, the matte painted variation. And then like a V2, which seems to give you a silver and paint version. And then the same thing, but in the matte. So lots of options here, and it's kind of cool. You then go onto the apron, if I can find the apron dot. This dot, it's kind of hard to find. It's actually inside of the truck, if you notice. It's right down here. And this is the apron. So you've got the painted shiny option, which I don't... On that paint scheme, doesn't really work for me. I prefer the matte version of that. But then you can just go black, like all the way. Matte, I think, looks quite nice with this chrome section here, but your mileage may vary. The last thing you can do is trim these air vents with this dot here. So you've got a light version, a dark version, a sort of light and dark, which leaves these dark and those light. Then you've got the painted, which is nice, and the painted matte. They kind of... I actually like the painted shiny. It kind of blends in what's going on with the paint scheme. So the air intakes don't particularly stand out. However, they do work with the rest of it. I think the matte version's a little bit flat, but the painted one, I really like that look. Last bit of tuning that you can do on the front here is this one, which is the front grille. So you've got the front grille chrome stock. You've got full chrome all the way. So yeah, depending on how shiny you want your Renault to look, you can bring in various aspects of chrome here. I kind of prefer it just like that myself. But, you know, it's not so bad with a chrome strip just here. But I think if you go all chrome, it kind of goes a bit too shiny for my liking. You've then got the bull bar, which you can slap on the front. However, if you was to put lights on here, you would pretty much block out that Renault logo. Which, you know, may be something you want to do or not. I don't know. Custom brings you in with like a custom paint and the painted options like this. So again, depending on what else you're doing around here, this bull bar may or may not work. I kind of prefer it without, to be honest. But yeah, it's all down to whatever you want. G, L, and L and G options, as well as ADR and ADR closed. Similar thing going on over here with the TIR, TIR closed, and a heavy duty sign. So you've got some accessories that you can put on here. You've then got the similar thing down there. So you've got, you know, plate options here, plate options here. And then when you get down here, you can, if you want to, put a Magnum plate or Legend plate on. If you don't put anything on, you'll get whatever. If you're registered for World of Trucks, like I have, for example, you can set your plate to be whatever you want. I've got mine as Squirrel. But if you don't choose that, it'll carry through. I think if you choose this, it will override it. Lower accessory grills down here, the usual story, you know. Trim and adjust as you see fit. Then you've got Renault mud flaps, which you can put on the front. You've got the normal thing around the wheels and the foot plates. And then you've got like a side skirt option here, which you can make work with the rest of your apron. So you've got these just simple side protection bars. You've got the full side skirt in matte or not and black. You've then got this option, which is subtly different to that one there. Literally, the extra thing is these side amber lights here. And then again, in all particular options. Then finally, you've got, again, the same options, but with this kind of chrome strip down the side. Then it brings us to... Actually, before we do that BDF dot, there's one little dot I want to show you back here, which is this one. If you pay attention to these wheel chocks here, you can have brightly coloured, or black, or white, whichever you fancy. You can change the wheel chocks. You've then got a little toolbox that you can slap on the back, or possibly a spare tyre if you feel the need. The mud guards, the mud flaps are... Now, these work better when you're not doing BDF tandem, because essentially what you can do is you can make them open or closed, painted or matte. Again, all variations that you may want. Probably want to leave it open if you're going to go with the BDF, because when you click on the BDF, it's going to slap a massive trailer on the back, so you can see you want to have your mud flaps probably cut at that point. Now, from what I understand, there are 3 options here. There's the Universal, the Profile Liner, and the Cool Liner options. And the skins, it pulls out of stock Euro Truck and the Scandinavia DLC if you've got it installed. Otherwise, what you're going to see is just standard. What you're going to have to do is basically pick one of these things and then try and match it with a tandem from the job market. That's the whole point of it. But if you do that, you should be able to get a fairly coordinated truck, BDF, and tandem trailer. Going up on the roof, finally, not a massive amount to say, apart from there is a cab light here, which we can show you on the inside in a second. That just changes the colour of the internal lighting, which is actually quite strong, the internal lighting, so you might want to stick with white for that one. Beacons, there are some interesting options up on the beacons here. Essentially, if you turn the beacons on, you'll see what happens. They kind of flash, and then they go out of sync with each other. And so what you end up with is this kind of alternating flashing look. There you go. You see what I mean? Which is kind of cool. I like that. And then you've got clear options, chrome options. You know, there's a few things which make it look pretty decent on the truck. Nothing much else. Standard light bars. Horn there, which I've got enabled. And that's it. So let's have a look at the inside. Inside, now there are some pretty interesting accessories on the inside, to be fair. As well as cab accessories, which is enabled. If you've got cab accessories DLC with your game, then you'll see all of these various accessories here. But you've also, you know, as well as the usual sort of story of whatever you want there, you've got you can put a TV up here, which does actually work, and I'll show you that finally when we get outside. But you can also do the same thing down on the dash here. Now, you've got one option for a portable navigator here, but these 2 dots, well, this one will let you bring in a Garmin or a big version of the Garmin, which is kind of cool. Having 2 sizes is pretty interesting because, let's face it, that one is pretty hard to see sometimes. You can also swap them out and have a TV version. Now, what the TV version is, it means when you put the truck into TV mode, then the TV will display up here, and what's on the TV will also display here. Pretty certain that's not legal to have on the road, you know, watching TV while driving. Not really safe. So I'm going to disable that, but you can also have the transparent versions. Now, the transparent version of the Garmin and the TV, the transparent versions I love, because it means that I can basically go like that, and it is what it says it is. It's transparent, so it doesn't completely obscure the road ahead. You get a nice overlay. It's almost like having a HUD, and I really, really like that accessory. Down here, we've got a digital clock, we've got a mobile, and a mobile V2. And over here, we've got a compass that we can bring in, and then the usual story of, you know, pennants up here, put whatever you like. I don't like blocking my view myself, but you may choose to do so. Let's get rid of that. Curtains, yes, we'll say no more about those. I don't really like curtains, as you know. And then standard, nothing new here. Normal sort of accessorizing going on, and there's a dot up here that you can use the CB radio. That's pretty much it. There's nothing much else to show you. Chrome plates if you want them there. And then, you know, put a bag on your seats, whatever. Quite a few choices after you've done the interior styling. You can accessorize it quite nicely. I like it, but my favorite thing is definitely that transparent sat-nav. So, when you've finally configured your truck, one of the things that you can do is if you turn on the ignition mode on your truck, then you can just bring on the ignition like that without starting the engine. That's in the gameplay options, by the way. Notice the semi-transparent sat-nav over there, looking absolutely beautiful. And then, if you press the I key, if you just look at the display here and then press the I key, you can see it change. And then when it goes into TV mode, like that, you can then say... Yep, you get to watch some, what appears to be Spanish football, I think. Spanish commentary or Brazilian commentary, I'm not sure. So you can watch TV just before you go to bed. Press I to get rid of that. One thing I was going to show you was the paint. It was slightly broken for me. If we just go into the paint shop a second, you'll see what I mean. Like I said, the Score Logistics ones and the standard ones that come with it all work fine. But if we go down here and choose, I don't know, for example, Magma Heat. Do you see what I mean? That's like an SCS standard paint scheme DLC, and it's mapped it. It's just broken. They're all broken. I don't know why. Maybe that's just for me. Maybe your mileage will vary, but for me, the standard DLC ones are definitely broken. That's the only issue that I spotted with this particular truck. So how does the truck actually haul? Well, on the whole, it hauls pretty well, it has to be said. Didn't really have any major issues apart from, like I say, the transmission ratios. Didn't struggle with this thing. Even with the 440 engine, I managed to haul 40 tons, you know, no problem at all. The only thing I would say is, don't expect this truck to go particularly fast. Simply because of those gear ratios, it will be limited. But, you know, if you just want a standard workhorse that's going to pull A to B, then you'll have no problems with this truck. And, you know, I know probably some of you are thinking, Squirrel, why have you gone and reviewed a Renault trucks? We all know you don't like Renault trucks. Well, I choose not to drive Renault trucks. However, I know a good mod when I see it, and that's why I thought this truck needs to be reviewed, because this is a good quality mod. And if you do like driving Renault trucks, then you'll definitely like this mod, so give it a go. In the video description, as usual, you will find a link to my mod spreadsheet. Just click on the ETS2 tab, and you should be able to find the Renault Magnum Tuning Pack. This is version 14.36. So obviously, you know, given the fact it's on 14.36, it is an actively updated mod. Anyway, I hope you like this video, guys. If you do, please give me a like. Leave a comment. If you've got any suggestions for a mod review in the future, then leave a comment and let me know. Otherwise, until the next time, take care. Happy trucking.